whoever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to another opportunity in front of you.
But we don't necessarily offer somebody like years of coaching for free because that doesn't actually make sense for us, right? And so the coaching relationship needs to be authentic. Like coaching everybody for free all the time, there is going to be a limit to that.
You don't need to justify why you're charging somebody. If you've decided that it's a business and you're doing this as a business, then you get to do that. As long as, and this is how the market works.
If you have a hobby and you want to do free forever, that's fine. Go ahead. But if you want it to be a sustainable business and you want people to value it in a business sense, then let's say you have to charge money. So the question is, how do you turn these freebie coaching sessions into sales? All right, Coaches Nation, welcome to another wonderful episode of the Coaches Journey podcast. I'm Daniel Fernandez. I'm here with Faisal Insan, and our topic today is turning freebies into coaching sales. And there's probably a bunch of different ways to think about the word freebies. That there's like a wide variety of things that could be freebies, right? But I think there's some specific ones that we can get into today. And when we talk about coaching sales, we're talking about turning people into coaching clients, right? And giving people freebies is a very standard thing to do, right? You go to Costco, you get a little sample. And sometimes those are really yummy, and sometimes they make you buy something. But sometimes they make you buy something that you really needed because you're like, oh, that's the product I've been seeking for my whole life. That happened to me at Costco. So that's kind of how freebies work. Freebies is a taste of the experience or a taste of something valuable. It can be a lot of things. So let's get into that, Faisal.
Actually, there was one of our clients today sent me a message about this, and his question was, let me actually read the
You
question.
mean a CMC member?
Yeah, a CMC member. He sent
Was
me
it
a
from our session
message.
today with our members?
Yeah, he was one of the coaches from the session, and he said something that was
Oh
interesting
yeah,
that
I know the one you're
applies.
talking about. Is it okay? Is it okay if it went, because I'm just starting out to do a bunch of free coaching?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get some feedback from you and the CMC community as to how long it is okay to be in this prioritizing skills development season of coaching. And he also added, I've taken 4 free clients that I support regularly as of right now. Both the clients and myself are getting a ton of value from this, some real breakthroughs. I've been feeling so fulfilled. And then he followed up with, okay, but let me tell you what I said, and then he followed up with something else. So he was getting overwhelmed because he has a job and he's doing his coaching business on the side. And of course, he has a family and all that stuff he has to take care of, and he can't stand his job. So he's doing his best to get out of the job while maintaining it and move his coaching business forward. Now, there's a process. There are certain things you cannot shortcut in the coaching business, and he's understood that. So he's trying to make sure that his skills are developed while he is coaching others, which is, I think, great. He's putting himself out there, he's serving people, he's working with 3 or 4 clients. But his thinking was, one of the areas he mentioned was that, hey, I'm working for free with these 4 clients on an ongoing basis, and he doesn't have enough time. And he also said that they can't afford me right now, but I'm hoping that they connect me with the right people. Generally, the thinking is sound, but the part that is a miss is the ongoing part for me. And this is what I told him. I told him that you don't have to continue to coach people 6 sessions, 10 sessions, 12 sessions, 20 sessions, whatever you're thinking in your mind for them to get the value. You just need to coach them maybe 1, 2, or 3 sessions. And one of my business coaches told me it's a rule of 2, minimum 2 sessions, but you don't need to go over to like 6 sessions, 5, all that stuff. But if you did 2 very powerful sessions, and for some people that might be even better than you doing 6 to 10 sessions, something like that. But when we're starting out, we're trying to kind of work on our skill sets, develop ourselves, those kind of things. And so we're trying to build confidence there too. And I told him this, that in most cases, people who need coaching, as a rule of thumb, they should be able to afford it. If they cannot afford it, they likely don't need more coaching. Now, there are exceptions to that, but
There's a
usually,
mindset there. There's a mindset
yeah.
piece that you're talking about here too.
Yeah, because those who are seeking coaching, they're looking to move forward, and they understand that there's a price for that. There's a trade-off for moving forward. It's a little bit different than therapy in that sense. Usually what I found in my experience, of course, there are exceptions, that those who cannot afford it, they're usually in the area where they need more therapy than they need coaching, if they need any kind of support. So what I told him that it's very likely, as a rule of thumb, and again, you would have to assess every case on its own, but look at the clients you're coaching. Likely, if they're stuck, they cannot afford it, they have financial challenges, there's some level of emotional intervention on the therapy side that's probably needed if they need support, or they need some kind of community to be around. If they need the kind of coaching, if they need any kind of coaching, it's probably not your kind of coaching if you're charging at a high ticket level. And also look at who you're marketing to. Who are these people? So is he wrong to say that, well, I'm working with these people so I can develop skill sets? Again, he can do whatever he wants, and I get that's his choice. And he can, even if he kept serving people, that would be great. But here's the problem. The challenge is that he has limited time. He's working with 4 people. That means on average, he's probably with prep and post work. He's probably spending about 8 hours with these clients, closely 7 to 8 hours per week if he's doing weekly sessions. And I told him this, whoever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to another opportunity in front of you. And you don't need to work constantly for the next 10 sessions for them to give you referrals. If they see value in your work, they will connect you to somebody if they have the right network. If they don't, you move on to the next person. Now, we also have a instinct to want to help everybody. This is where I've developed my content, other resources in the background that I share with people. Hey, if I see that I'm not the right person to help them, I send them some resources, I connect them with the right people, and I check in on them, make sure they're supported. That takes care of my conscience. I don't need to show up to help everybody. There are different levels of support for everybody available. And again, that's also true for us. We weren't always ready for coaching. There was a time where we needed a friend to support us. There was a time we needed a therapist. There was a time we needed a coach. There was a time we needed the higher level coach. There are a lot of coaches around me that they might not be able to support me. There's a time we needed a different kind of community. And that's true for across the board. And what ends up happening is that a lot of coaches start to kind of put a lot of their energy in a place where it's not as needed, even though they can be helpful. I'll pause here and then we can kind of unwrap this a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think to bring it back to the concept of freebies, I think we're talking about a very specific kind of freebie, which is a coaching freebie, right? Like coaching
Yeah.
sessions. And I think that's actually the most fundamental unit of the sales process, right? For coaches,
Yeah.
the freebie is the experience they have with you when you coach them, right? And
Yeah.
for most coaches, that first session being free is a great entry point for their clients, for their potential clients. And so that is where they get to experience what is this coaching like? And maybe there's a follow-up session, right? Faisal said, I'm of the opinion like 1, 2, or 3 sessions is plenty. And
Yeah.
I would agree with Faisal, rule 2 is pretty good. It's a pretty good rule. I've done 3. I like doing 1, 2, or 3. It depends on the person in front of me, right? But when you start doing full programs for people without paying, there has to be some mutual benefit, right? You have to have a mutually beneficial arrangement with people. Otherwise, it doesn't create a really solid relational ground for you, right? It creates a weird imbalance. I'll say I'll just do it that way, and there's an energy that underpins it. Because maybe there's a strategic value, right? Like maybe if you're coaching somebody who has a huge network of people and they want to introduce you to that network, that could be part of the compensation, right? It depends on how you design it. You can design compensation whatever way you want. But if you're doing it to build your skills, that's great. At some point, you can't just do it to build your skills if you want it to be sustainable, right? So freebies are a great entry point, but then if you think about the how much freebies, I think there's no limit to how many freebies you can give. Like Faisal and I both are still giving free coaching sessions to people. It's part of how our process works. That's part of how we share our value. We put ourselves out there and we offer discovery sessions to the right people that are the ones we can serve and who can get value from that, where we can support them. So we still do that.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily offer somebody like years of coaching for free because that doesn't actually make sense for us, right? And so the coaching relationship needs to be authentic. That being said, there's different kinds of ways of thinking about free, right? You can be strategically free with your work. If you want to sign up a group of beta clients to go through a process with you, let's say you have a 10-step process, you can take them through your process so that you can get feedback. And even then, I would say, why not charge them? Charge them small. because you're going through the process of building your muscles, right? You can give them that first freebie, that first discovery session with them, and hey, do you want to keep on going? We can go through this process, and we can pay whatever small amount that is nominal. So if they have some skin in the game, even a little bit can make a difference. Then you have to learn how to do invoicing or receive money. It helps you set up your business to be able to expand beyond just that status, that stage in the future. But if you're thinking about like coaching everybody for free all the time, there is going to be a limit to that. And the limit will probably be your finances and your time. And so if you think about the sustainability of that, that can work if you have a commitment beyond just the idea to do something. If you have a passion and a very strong motivation to do that, and you have financial independence to allow you to sustain it, that will be different, right? Like for those who do not need to earn an income, people can find a whole path in coaching where it can be very, very fulfilling. And you can do that forever. And it's deceptively, powerfully fulfilling to make a difference in coaching if you don't know that you have to also think about your financial sustainability at the same time. So I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I
even
think about it
beyond that,
as like every career, right? Like if you love doing engineering work, which I did, I love doing engineering work, but I got paid to do that work. It was very fulfilling to me. I got paid for it. I got paid to lead teams. It was fulfilling for me. I loved it, but I got paid to do that work. So eventually, you do want to get paid, and hopefully not eventually, hopefully sooner than eventually.
I would even say, even if you're financially independent on your own, and we actually have I've worked with coaches who are financially independent, but and they charge for one
True.
specific reason, because they decided that it's a business. You don't need to justify why you're charging somebody. If you've decided that it's a business and you're doing this as a business, then you get to do that. As long as, and this is how the market works, even if you have money aside from that, you want to make this something where you work with a certain level of people and you want to charge them. And by the way, there's perception in money too. There are certain people that won't even see the value of your program if you say it's completely free. Um, and those are the people who have money. They won't see the value because you're saying that it's free. So it depends what you're trying. Now, if you decide that this is a hobby for you, that would be completely different. You don't have to charge. But if your initial intentions say that, you know what, I want to build a business, regardless of whether you have money or not, business requires a money, then that there's an intention behind that, there's a design behind that that you have to think through. But if you're thinking it's a hobby or it's something I'm doing because it's just for fulfillment, great. That's great. And that's also perfectly fine.
So if we start with the premise that, if you have a hobby and you want to do free forever, that's fine. Go ahead. But if you want it to be a sustainable business and you want people to value it in a business sense, then let's say you have to charge money. So the question is, how do you turn these freebie coaching sessions into sales? I would say there's a nurture path here, a sales nurture process that we teach in CMC that goes from when you connect with somebody all the way through to when they're in your coaching program. And the
Yeah.
freebie thing that you give them is their discovery session. Doing that really, really well, and we have a whole masterclass on this in CMC, is a really, really big way to do that. It's about discovery. It's about exploring and maybe not trying to solve all their problems at the beginning because you don't actually know the extent of their problems. You don't really know. If somebody tells you something, it's really easy to jump into like, oh, here's the answer to your problem. But maybe they've tried 17,000 different things and maybe they've been struggling with this problem for years and that one comment is not going to solve their problem. And so it's really tempting sometimes to to think you know the answers, but part of a valuable discovery session is not to jump to conclusions, is to explore and learn about them and help them recognize and learn about themselves in that discovery process. And as you take them through this kind of discovery process, that's the kind of freebie that can be extremely valuable for people because people don't have the time or space to think anymore. And when they have that space with somebody who is trained in the ways of helping them get to clarity, that can be very, very powerful and very, very valuable. And if somebody knows that you can do that for them and knows that you can lead them through the sales process in an ethical and genuine way and trust you to buy coaching from you, then they're going to know that you're going to be able to help them with whatever they're struggling with or whatever they need support on, whatever they're trying to achieve. So that's the nature of the freebie. It's actually a value creation opportunity, and not everyone's going to sign up with you, and that's okay. But a certain percentages of people will sign up for you as you get better at that. And the way to get better is just to practice giving those away. So yes, use freebies to turn those sales into coaching. And you can do that by helping people gain clarity in those sessions.
Yeah, for sure. And and again, we've done workshops on this. We've gone into details and we've talked about this on other podcasts. So definitely listen to one of the other podcasts. I think it will be framed as delivering sessions that sell. We've gone into detail around what Daniel is describing. Really, and the converse is some coaches think that they can just spend one session with somebody and make a high ticket offer. You can. Let's say if your program was $1,000, $2,000, maybe even up to $3,000, but as soon as you get to 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 20, 30,000, it becomes harder and harder to establish enough trust, relationship, and like to Daniel's point, enough discovery to figure out what the real problem is there. And unfortunately, either coaches think that they need to make this sale quickly, or they've been trained by another business coach saying that, and don't reveal too much, just ask what their pain points are, ask where they're trying to go and fill the gap. But you don't have enough context or even understand the scope of the problem to make the offer yet.
One of our
So,
members today asked that very question. They said,
yeah.
like, hey, I thought you were supposed to make the offer on right away on the call. People told me that that's the way you're supposed to do it, but that's not
Yeah.
necessarily the right answer. Like, that doesn't necessarily help the client build that trust either.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And again, as Daniel, there are times where I do free sessions, there are times where I don't. So my at least my rule of thumb in my business is if somebody comes from my referral network, I know where they're coming from. They're already kind of qualified by my network. So I will do a couple of sessions for free and figure out where they're at, where what they're trying to get. But most people who just come, for example, I do a workshop every 6 weeks or so, and I usually have a paid offer. It's for a one-on-one call, one or two calls, and I see and I kind of qualify them at every level, especially if I don't know them where they came from. They were sent from somewhere, but it wasn't a
What do
direct
you mean every
referral.
level? What do you mean qualify them at every level? What does that mean?
So it means that they, first of all, they show up on the call and I'm interacting with them. Usually these calls have anywhere between 20, 30 people, and I see them and how engaged are they? Are they actually solving a problem? Are they kind of observer in the background? Then if they sign up for the offer, okay, there's some kind of need there. I'm not clear. They're gonna get on a 30-minute call with me, and I need to figure out, can I support them? Are they the right person? Then they're gonna get a questionnaire. Like every stage helps me pre-qualify with money, with assessments, with me interviewing them, whether they're the right person. Then I serve them fully, and then I offer a bigger package on the other side.
Which actually brings up the point of a freebie is not only a chance to give value, it's also a chance to pre-qualify, which is a really
Yeah.
important point. The pre-qualification process is actually what leads to sales with higher
Yeah.
efficiency. If you're not pre-qualifying, they're not going to say yes to your offer necessarily because they weren't qualified in the first place, but you could have filtered them out, in that process of pre-qualifying them, right?
Yeah. And most of the time, coaches, when they're talking to a lot of people, they're connecting with them, but they're not getting clients. And there's this weird thing that's taught in the world of coaching and speaking that, oh, if they really want it, they will find a way to afford it. I'd say that's more of an exception than a rule. I look at, like, on average, I can tell you that most of my clients, they earn anywhere from 150 plus. On average, they are earning 250, 200K, and they're professionals who've been in their field for 20, 15, 20 plus years. They have, and the reason why I know they can afford them because they already have access to invest in real estate and other places. So they have stored a certain amount of nest egg that they're looking to invest in other places, and this becomes one of their investment. Now imagine I put the same effort to connect to a bunch of people who make 50,000 or 30,000. Now there might be an exception because I was there. Like I'm and I bought into the story because I was one of those exceptions that put in $10,000 when I could barely afford $1,000.
Yeah,
And
me too. Yeah,
right.
totally.
So we kind of judge the rest of the world with that lens, and even the person who's being motivating you, saying, "Hey, if they can afford it, they'll buy it." But no, that's more of an exception than the rule. You want to be in a network where, on average, they should be able to afford your program. So, for example, if you're offering a $10,000 program, they should be making at least 150K, 120, 150K, something like that, so they can justify that investment. They shouldn't be deciding between bringing food to the table and investing in your coaching program. That's when you know that they might not need coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a really great point about your price point versus your network. And if you think about the network, like if you think about the network you're in, whatever network you are in, and you can use that word very loosely. You have multiple networks in some ways. You have networks of people that are, following you on LinkedIn. You have networks from your high school. There's a lot. Your network is a very large conglomeration of sub networks. So, but like whatever network you're traveling in, so to speak, the people you're giving the freebies to, and at first you don't really know. Like if you can give the freebies more to the people that are more likely to be able to afford it, that's going to be much more beneficial. And even the people who you get that maybe aren't qualified, they will know people in their network who might be qualified. And so you can always share some of the things of, people you like to work with them. And even if you give a freebie, just like, yeah, you want to be a little more efficient with your freebies, but you don't have to be perfectly efficient with your freebies. Every discovery session you run with somebody is a unlocking door to a whole new network of theirs. If you provide them value and they're really happy about that, whether they sign up with you or not, they have a whole network of people. And so as you think through who to offer your freebies to, think about like try aligning it to the network of people who can afford it. And even if you can't do that perfectly, and even if you're early in the process and don't know what that is, then start learning by doing it, right? Start learning by reaching out to your current network and seeing what happens. And even if you want to charge higher prices, if your network that you have access to today can't afford those prices, maybe there's a simpler program or a lower price point that would allow you to then build your program to a point where you can actually charge higher prices and get into a better network over time for pricing. So there's a lot of like evolution that goes along with this because I think there's also the irony is like this is sort of sounds like a mechanical evolution, but there's a lot of mental mindset evolution that goes along this whole process underneath it all. That it's like how you feel about charging, how comfortable you are with making the offer, how comfortable you are with reaching out to your network and setting up calls, how comfortable you are with doing the discovery call and the process of it. And that's part of why we have CMCs to help you understand all those processes and practice it and implement it and figure out what's going wrong. Because a lot of things go wrong in this process. Things go wrong all the time. There's not a month that goes by where I'm like, oh, that's never happened to me before. Make a note of that or something like that, right? So like we're all still learning as we go. And that's part of like the benefit of having community coaches is helping you leverage these freebie discovery sessions and turn them into coaching sales with more reliability. So higher conversions, basically.
Yeah, and there's a statement you reminded me of a statement in business that says your first $1 million that you're gonna make is within your network. Now, most people
Mhm.
hear that and look at the people around them, it's like nobody's gonna pay me any money for coaching. They don't even understand what the hell coaching is. Now, remember, your network is like Daniel said, consists of sub networks because everybody that's connected to you, if you think two or one out from you, like the connection that
Degrees
somebody
of
that
connection,
they
you
know,
mean?
yeah, degrees of connection, and the person that they know and that person that they know, you're probably much closer to somebody who can not only afford your coaching, but they can connect you to one of the best networks you've ever connected with. And that's exactly what happened with me. I didn't really have a niche. I just kept supporting people in my network. And then out of the 50 plus people that I was helping, and one of them connected me with one of the best networks, and that's all I needed, to be honest. And then after that I got connected to a
Yeah.
couple other networks, but that's all I needed to start the process of connecting with the right people. None of those were directly connected to me. There were two or three people away from me. And that was like one of the biggest light bulb moments. And this is why when I do my discovery calls, to be honest, I care who comes in now because I need to be careful with my time. But had I had like now I have more resources than I have time. In the beginning, I had more time than I had resources, which was money. So now I can kind of pay people to do some of the things that I do, and I need to protect my time a little bit. So I qualify a lot more now. But in the beginning, I was just serving everybody, but I was careful how much I was serving them and where that was going. Was I making offers? And you were talking about being the discomfort of it. The whole process will be uncomfortable. Like accept that it'll be uncomfortable. And today on our CMC call, one of our coaches said, "Well, I feel pushy when I ask for a testimonial or referral, and then I don't know why." I'm like, "You don't need to know why. It's like as coaches, we want to figure out what the why is. How do we process emotions? Do that as a side, but that shouldn't stop you from taking the uncomfortable action because all of it will be uncomfortable
Yeah.
in the
And
direction
one of the
you're
things we
trying to
said is if
go."
you ask for testimonial 100 times, you probably won't be uncomfortable anymore and you won't want to know why you were in the first place. Like it almost doesn't
Yeah.
matter. right?
And
So,
almost doesn't matter, like you said. So the way I look at it is that every time I serve somebody around me, they connect me with somebody who has a different kind of network. And I might be one or two people away from one, like think of it like a gold mine of clients that you haven't even tapped into. And not every networks are created equal either. Some network you go to, your next 100 clients are going to come from there. Some you might get two clients, some you might get 15 clients. And it's the most interesting thing to watch. And it might not even be directly correlated with the way you coach. It might just be the alignment of people with you.
or the timing, right? You make me think of like the gold mine analogy, which I love. And by the way, you also made me think of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, which was a game that we used to play in the 90s, I think. It's probably still being played, which is like, how many people away from Kevin Bacon are you, right? Like, so, or like,
Mhm.
is any of the actors or whatever. Like, everybody's in a movie with this person was in a movie with that person. But they did a study, and I don't have the reference here, but I'm pretty sure I watched an entire video on this because it was super fascinating about how far are the people on Earth connected to each other. And I think everybody's within 6 degrees of separation. And most people are within like four. Like it's a crazy level of connection.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, it's like if you know, even if you know just two people in your entire, let's say you're a hermit and you know like the local monk, that monk probably knows the person at the market, who probably knows the person that like somebody from the city, who probably knows like the president, who probably knows like everybody, or whatever. I'm just as an example, like everybody's connected in ways they don't really even understand or appreciate. And the gold mine analogy is really interesting because like gold occurs in a mine in like a vein, right? It's like there's this like the thick vein of gold in the middle that you're trying to get to. And as you explore, you try to hit this vein, and you might not hit it right, but like there's little hints. Like the vein will have little tiny veins that come out of it. And let's say you're like almost at the vein, right? And the vein is like in front of you, but you see this little speck of gold. You start to see a lot of specks of gold along the wall. You're like, ooh, that means the vein is near. But you go dig in the first one, you just get this little tiny nugget. Okay, well maybe that's not the vein wasn't behind it. Next one's like, oh, there's a little more, but it stops. So maybe then the vein's not there. But the vein is there. It's just which of these little nuggets is going to be the one that leads directly to the vein. And then that one teeny one that looks like it wasn't going anywhere, as you uncover it, it gets thicker and thicker and goes to the big vein. And you're like, oh, I didn't expect that person to be the person that got me to the vein. And all the goal was behind that person, but you didn't know who it was to start with. So, you can't necessarily know. You can try to figure it out, but it's better to just stay in the game of picking these little nuggets up. Even if they were tiny, keep going. And one of these people will be the next person in your network to get you that vein. And this means that it's important to design your process for referrals. So when you do the freebies, the way freebies get you to coaching sales is not necessarily the person who got the freebie that gets the sale, right? That's not necessarily the person that's buying it. It could be the person behind that person, the person they refer you to, because they had a great time in the session and got a lot of value. Maybe they can't afford it, or maybe they're not ready to move forward. They'll probably still connect you with some people, right? And those people might be the people who get you the sale, or maybe they'll connect you with some people. You can see the exponential connection that you're creating here and value that you're
Yeah.
creating. Now, it does require effort and it requires consistency and time. And that is like the word of mouth is by far the best testimonial you can get, right?
Yeah,
So
and the process we're describing is not actually intuitive. We're not very good at predicting exponential growth. This is why a lot of people are not good at finances. This is why a lot of people are not good in understanding the exponential effect of actions that you take or the little habits that you have. We constantly have to be hammered with, hey, this is gonna pick up at some point and it's gonna grow to a whole,
that
but we don't
compounding
actually.
effect, right?
Yeah, that component word, our mind is not very good at it, but in reality, at this point, it's been proven over and over in business and life and every kind of in financials that we don't see it, but everything you're doing consistently is compounding on itself. And it's not just finances, it's your actions, it's your relationships, it's your network, everything kind of builds on itself. And if you just double that every year or every month, it's just you can't figure it out. There's a old story of this. I think it was in China or something. The I think it was a king that asked because a philosopher or somebody who tried to help him out was like, what do you want for your effort? He's like, I want 1 grain for every 1 grain and doubling that for every square of the chessboard. And he even got offended by it. He's like, you're asking me for 1 grain for for a king? You're asking me that? I think he might have imprisoned or something. But anyway, when they calculated the whole thing, it was like all of his granary is out because he
It's
didn't
more than that.
understand
Yeah,
exponential
it's
growth.
way more than that. It's like impossible, right? So
Right, right. So he would have had to give him his whole wealth for him to, but he didn't actually understand what he was asking for. And that's how we all are. And even us describing it, it's very hard in the day to day to understand that we have to kind of constantly question, like, is this working? Is this working? And I'm talking to so many people. I'm doing all these efforts, putting all this stuff out. And when you're in the beginning of your business, nothing seems to feel like it's working because you're learning 100 plus different things. You're trying 100 plus different things. You don't have a clear strategy. And
yeah.
so it feels like nothing is working. Actually, a lot of things are working. You just need to give it enough time with
A
consistency.
lot of things are working, and some of the things that aren't working are wasting time, right? And so like the story you're talking about is like it was doubling it for every square on the chessboard, like 1 grain for the
Yeah.
first chessboard and doubling it for the second square. But there's
Yeah.
64 squares, so if you double a single grain 64 times, it's a huge amount. But one of the challenges is when you compound things like good work, it compounds. But when you compound things like scrolling or doom scrolling, like that compounds in the wrong direction, right? And so, and in the coaching business, like there's a lot of things that we're doing that aren't necessary. And so you can make faster reps if you eliminate that unnecessary stuff. If you
Yeah.
get back to the fundamentals are have connection calls, turn those connection calls into discovery calls, get referrals, get testimonials, sell your coaching services, do a great job. Those are the fundamentals, right? And as you
Yeah.
do that over and over and over again, each piece of that process, there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of times we waste a lot of time doing things that are not part of the fundamentals. And not that saying that you don't need to do anything else. There's other stuff you need to do for sure. But most of your time should be going into compounding those fundamentals. And if that's not
Yeah. So
happening,
and by selling, you meant making an offer, right?
making offers, yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, making an offer, getting people enrolled in your program as a result, and then delivering the coaching and doing a great job and getting and improving, right? Those are the fundamentals. And you gotta stay with the fundamentals if you want them to compound. But it's
Yeah.
but the human mind is so funny that even when we know about this law of compounding, we still can't feel it in the moment. Like we could do this for 3 months and be on the verge of hitting that next double of compounding where we actually notice it, and we're like, this is not working, and we give up. I can't.
Yeah.
I've done that enough times to know that's what happens.
And certain compounding takes time. And if you actually look at the curve of, like, for example, podcasts, like you watch them like 2, 3, 4 years, they're kind of going like this, and all of a sudden they pick up. It was this guy that recently went viral after I think a couple of years. He was a lawyer. He would put these videos every day, like these short clips about persuasion, influence, and he was even shocked by it. He's like, I just did it because I would just get in my car because he was a lawyer and he had worked in the field for so long. He's like, I think this would be helpful for others. And all of a sudden, within however long, and it took a couple of years, it just exploded, and he was getting invited on every podcast. And you listen to him, he's like, I'm scared now. I was like, I was just sharing because I liked it, and I love how he talks about it because he's so open with it. He's like, now I have to figure out how to help all these people that are actually watching me.
Chance
So
to
it's more
serve.
of a,
Yeah, Mr. Beast, I think he'd like 300, 500 episodes or something before he ever got known really well, before he got to a million views or something. Like he slogged it out for a long time. Like the highest YouTube grossing person of all time had like hundreds of attempts before he got noticed, right? Like so
yeah,
it's
and
like
that's the most common process is that. But in most people's minds, oh, these guys got famous because they put out a bunch of videos. I mean, there could be exceptions to that. It's possible that it hits the right note in the culture or whatever. But for most people, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of and I'd say just knowing coaches, working with coaches this long, like give yourself a good, consistent effort for the first year. Give yourself 1 year of consistent effort in these foundational areas that Daniel outlined around connecting with people, doing connection calls, discovery calls, or strategy calls, making offers, asking for referrals. Do some other things too, but don't compound the bad habits. Compound the habits that are uncomfortable that moves your business forward. And even if you did one, two, or three free sessions in the process with a person, that's okay. You're asking for a referral, asking for a testimonial, and naturally, as you get better and better at this, you'll naturally get more testimonials. You will get connected to different. And we see this over and over with coaches in our community that they're getting connected to speaking engagements, teams, all kinds of stuff, and they get surprised by it themselves, but they're just doing the work consistently, and that's the effect of good work. Is you get, but you got to be open to doing the work, and a lot of the work is not just work, it's uncomfortable work.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast today, and hope you did, please do share it with other coaches that you know who might need to hear this message today. And if you'd like to, we have lots of free resources in our free community. cmc.coach is how you get there, and you can join our free Facebook group. And we go live every week on this very podcast. If you listen to this podcast and enjoyed it, you're probably either hearing it in our community live and unedited, or you'll get the edited version later, a few weeks behind in our public podcast. So you get advanced access and you get to hear what's on our minds, but with all the mistakes and all the stuff that we're real humans here doing that we do stuff. And if you have any questions or thoughts about this podcast, please reply on whatever platform you're listening to it on. We'd love to hear from you, and you can always reach out to us in Coaching Mastery community in our Facebook group. We're in there quite frequently, and we'd love to have you join our community.
Yes, for sure. And please share your insights below as well. We'd love to hear you if you're on YouTube or anywhere you can comment. And we'd love to hear from you, and we'll personally respond to it.
All right.
Until our next conversation, hope you have a great day. Take
See you
care.
next time.
Bye.